Micro Center
And buy the cables
and buy a cable
and buy the separator or something. How
you're talking about for the mounting?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically, I don't know whether they're 632 or what.
Is it a 3.5-inch drive or laptop size, 2.5?
It's 3.5.
Yeah. Is there?
Is it 632?
Yeah.
But you gotta get them not too long because they go in too far. So, you have to be careful. So at any rate, another excuse to stop at the Micro Center. The problem is you go there to buy $6 worth of stuff and you come away with $200 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's not my problem. I go in there, I buy what I want and leave. I don't even look at anything else.
$5.
Yeah, $5.
Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
it's hard for me to get by the checkout without oogling the flash chips, you know, thumb drives, micro SDs, and so forth. So, anyway,
We need some kind
How
of
many of those
shoes.
little micro SD cards do you think have been lost?
lost
Yeah, just, I mean.
by me personally? Oh,
Within the last month,
50 or so.
micro SD, yeah, it's in the woods somewhere.
Menards in,
Evendale.
no,
Bridgewater Falls.
Bridgewater Falls had SD cards like cheap. I bought,
They sell SD.
yeah, they had SD cards,
Why?
half card.
Why?
They're designed
For crazy
camp.
people like me that walk in there and see them sitting there and go, oh wow, $3, huh? All of them.
Yes. Well, last Christmas time, after Christmas, I went to Bed Bath & Beyond with my wife. I don't normally go to Bed Bath & Beyond, but, you know, you have to do a certain amount of
Tag along.
Domestic work.
domestic shopping in order to maintain peace. So I get in there, and they've got shelves of these little mini drones. They're about,
Oh, yeah.
they're red and they're about that big. And they're normally $25. You can buy them any place for $25, but they had them for half price. So big me, I sprung for one. Then I'm get home, I thought, like, what am I doing? Why didn't I buy 10 of those suckers?
Could have stuck those on eBay.
First, see if they work. I've got one that Gail
I've got
won at a race.
This one works just fine.
It was a door prize. They were giving them away.
Oh. So, anyway, I'm Art Elsey from Columbus, Ohio, via California. Actually, from California, originally from Columbus.
I'm Steve. Not
Anything
much.
exciting this week?
No,
Nothing?
I've been playing with Manjaro. I am impressed with it.
Is it idiot proof? Could I run it?
Anybody can run it.
I got a
Based on
spare hard
Arch.
drive.
It's based on Arch. And from the command line, I'm still trying to figure out how to install software. I've never used Arch before, but it's got it's AUR.
Okay.
But, yeah, I've always been Yum and apt, so.
Isn't it Pac-Man?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's different.
Manjaro,
No, no,
M-A-N-J,
what does he usually install?
Pac-Man.
AUR or Pac-Man.
It's Pac-Man stands for Package Manager. Go figure that one out.
Besides in the name, I'm working on techniques for robots location, indoor location, outdoor location. Not right now.
I saw a
It's
video
very
today on the news from Venezuela. It was a guy who was recycling
Plastic.
plastic.
Yeah. But you can see eBay and somewhere else machines to make the filament for 3D printers using bottles or anything, something like that.
So he's recycling plastic to make the filaments for?
He's printing car parts.
Someone in Venezuela is doing that. It's on the news, but I saw a lot of people here doing the same thing.
They're
And
printing car
already
parts because
set-
they can't get car parts on the open market for some reason.
There's also small machines to do that at home. It's like a gun or something with a heater.
So they're drawing the fiber out of it?
They use some kind of,
A RAM.
yeah,
Well, so it's like injection molding then?
but it's something like that, but you throw the filament in water or something to cool down it.
Now this guy
Maintain,
was using just a 3D printer and he was printing looked like a vent for a car, and you could see the veins, and he just and zipping back and forth. So he was using 100 ounces a day.
I read yesterday that printer bot goes out of business. The people that made the first full frame, remember? They are out of business yesterday.
No.
Printer bot.
I wonder what
Because,
happened.
very low sales or something like that. They decided to cut
Yeah, they never changed their prices.
That's the problem.
they were working in a CNC machine also.
No, I don't remember that.
Yes, they are very focused on to design a home CNC machine.
Cool. Unfortunately, it was also made out of 4mm plywood.
I have the printer bot, I can't remember the name, was in a clip of wood. That's one of my first printer. My last one is the printer bot metal, the small also, but full metal. But they are out of business maybe. It'd be hard to find spare parts.
That might actually explain why Micro Center put a bunch of them on sale. The past couple of months, MakerBot stuff up at Micro Center went on sale at like
Maybe would be a lot of low cost
low cost.
offers.
Yeah.
Hey, Leroy, who are you?
That's it. I'm Leroy.
What are you doing? You got all this stuff to show us?
Yeah, this is going to be the wireless demo if we can get to all of it. I've got 5 different modes. Basically, I think we should be able to get to at least 4 of these. We've got LoRa, we've got Wi-Fi mesh, we've got NRF 24, and we've got just standard ASK transmitter receiver pair. 433, yeah.
Okay.
LoRa's 915, Wi-Fi mesh is 2.4, and NRF 24 is 2.4.
All right, we'll be back.
Mike just hanging out.
Okay.
I'm Mike. Last week when you were talking about your timer, I mentioned the emergency light. This is the kind I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Plugging it in, so we just periodically charge it
Oh, I see.
for an hour or 2 every week.
Okay.
So it's got a lantern and 2
Yeah, that'll work.
back to removable flashlights.
No, that's neat.
It's a little hard describing an emergency light and being able to go to a charger.
So you can take those flashlights out of it?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I bought a pet clipper, and it doesn't have an automatic charger, so you're not supposed to leave them on for more than 8 hours. That would be ideal for that.
Yeah, so that's what I was
1
wondering.
hour every week.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, but an hour every week or something like that. That's what I was asking about his timers. If it'd be capable of doing that, so I can just plug it in, leave it in the
So it
garage.
doesn't auto shut off or anything like that?
Correct. So you have to manually
Yeah, you spend $7, $8 for one, and it comes with the software. You download the software, and away you go.
Is it battery replaceable?
It is? Yeah. No, it's got rechargeable mercuries in the flashlight, and it's got a rechargeable lithium ion in the lantern part.
Mercury.
That's what they said.
Recharge.
The last time I used a mercury battery was 40 years ago.
Yeah,
That's weird.
but something might have got lost in translation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did they mean lithium instead of mercury?
They said there was a lithium in the lantern part, but the batteries or the flashlights had mercury batteries.
Okay, Marcus, who are you?
Marcus Davis.
And what are you still working on your project?
Yeah, working on my project. Actually, I went to Frank's place yesterday.
We would expect that.
Yeah.
Two Microsoft guys.
I did Azure and IoT. By the way, GE's actually adopting Azure now.
I saw that.
Predix, yeah, because they're Predix, and I think a lot of these big companies think they can do the IT part of things, and they can go up and do all the IT part. That's what GE started doing. They started going just all out just Predix, and I think, and I've been reading different articles. It's getting harder than what they thought it was to take care of that part of the sort of computer IT world. And so they sort of teamed up with Azure, I think, to allow to keep Predix going, but I guess to make some books so they can not have to deal with the cloud part of it so much and deal with their core competencies, which is big refrigerators, jet engines, and whatever else. So,
Whatever's left.
yeah, hey, that's actually right. Whatever's left.
All right, Leroy, you ready to go? Ready to dance?
I was just looking at mercury batteries just because I was curious. Yes, I guess I am ready.
Ready, Freddie?
So actually, I'm going to defer part of this to Steve because part of this is actually his project. Well, it's because of what you wanted to know about distance and everything that I put this together. So it's your fault.
If it doesn't work, it's me. If it does, it's Leroy.
That's right. That's the way
And
it
then
works.
we have to call back the router.
Yeah, the router's broke. So, if you've got a building that's yay big, and you wanted to do some temperature sensing in each room and have all that information coordinated at one spot so that you could prove that the AC wasn't actually doing what the AC people said the AC was doing. Am I right?
Yep.
And
Or
so,
vice versa.
well, or yes, or prove that it actually was working.
You may want to prove that it's still
Or prove that it actually is doing what they say it's doing. Either way, that's the basis of this, and then we got into a discussion about what the best route might be to transfer information to the thing, and I think, well, I know we talked about LoRa. I'm not so convinced that that's actually the best one to use inside of a building, because LoRa is basically designed for long range, not necessarily. It will. I'm sure that it will work inside the building, but it's not necessarily designed to work inside the building. The other ones that I thought of immediately were like a Wi-Fi mesh and the NRF 24s, which are both 2.4 gigahertz. I also thought the 433 megahertz, these things have incredible range on them. They're kind of a limited deal though. They don't really have, there's no talkback. I mean, this sends, this receives, or this sends, this receives.
So So there's no handshake.
There's no handshake. It's just, there it is.
Remote control or something.
Yeah, these were actually meant for something like a window unit, a AC unit or something to turn it on and off. Yeah, you find them in a lot of outlet, remote control outlet deals, and they work really well. And they're simple to use, and they're cheap. I think that whole setup was $4.
And that's 433.
That's $433. Like that whole setup would be like, $7 because you get a receiver and a transmitter on one. Yeah, that's the receiver. Whatever. So I think what we need to do is just sort of take and see what kind of ranges we actually do get off of some of this stuff.
On the one you just had,
Yes.
does that transmit data, or is
Yeah.
that just a signal to?
No, it'll transmit data. I'm actually so I'll say this: the LoRa device is actually sending real data. It's going to when you hit the button, it'll take a temperature reading, and it'll send us a temperature, and we'll be able to tell you what temperature you sent us.
The electric turn on and off the oscillator. Just that. ASK.
Okay.
On,
Yeah.
off, on, off.
Well,
And use any protocol you want, but obviously it's serial, very low.
yeah, it's an ASK.
rate.
It's an ASK, but I'm actually, when you hit the button, it'll actually send hello to this device. It's
Okay.
actually sending hello, and I'm just using hello to turn on the light.
There are libraries for coding.
Yeah, it's real simple. All of these basically do the same thing. You hit the button, and an LED lights up. They're all data. Depending upon which sketch we are actually using, I think all of them are actually sending some form of data, but I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just saying, yes, I received something, turn on a light. Turn off the light. Okay, I didn't receive it, turn off the light. The LoRa is the only one that's actually doing something that's semi-useful. Because it'll actually display the temperature. And that is only because I already had that sketch wrote. Now,
I'm still interested in this
the
quite a bit actually, but so they came back in. This is like the 8th time they've been in the building, and they discovered that the damper that controls reflow air was wrong.
so
It's
basically
just been
there's
sitting there recirculating air.
so basically they're saying, oh yeah, maybe there is something wrong.
You can buy in Amazon 5 pairs,
Mm-hmm.
so 0 for
Like-
99.
Like you could buy, yeah, I bought like 10 of these things for like $5. I mean, they're like cheap. 10 pairs of these ASK transmitters for
But to get data
nothing.
out of them, you have to modulate it. You don't send it an ASCII
need to
character.
text the RX pin to disassemble anything you want to transmit.
Okay.
yeah,
Because the only thing similar I've ever dealt with were the little XP modems, and those you send an ASCII.
yeah, it turns it on and off real fast, and it just knows what it. You can actually I actually modulated one of the. I hooked a pulse width modulation thing up to it,
Mhm.
and on the data side, I just took the speaker up to it, and I could hear it
Really?
playing. Yeah, it doesn't care.
So it's got fairly good bandwidth.
Yeah,
3 or 4K. Okay. Yeah.
We're not talking concert quality.
we're talking. Oh yeah, that's Super Mario playing over there across the room. Cool. And it sounded really, but basically the receiver is dumb. It's all in whatever. It will receive basically everything and just put it out on the data pin, and you've got to actually figure out what it what it
Okay.
is in the
problem is
software.
the receiver has an AEG automatic gain input,
Mm-hmm.
and when there is no transmitting, it picks
Yeah,
all the
it's up and
noise,
up and up.
everything,
Yeah.
everything.
So it cranks the gain all the way up.
Crazy up. You need to send a signal during a frame or something to
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs,
establish stable gain
Okay.
receiver and then transmit something.
now, the other nice thing that I noticed about these was when I played with these probably 3-4 years ago, I started playing around with these. I had a bunch of them just sitting there transmitting, and they would transmit at the same time. The receiver did not care. I could sit there and phrase all of it as it just came in. And,
I'm working a lot with it because I am using it for the trigger.
Mhm.
In the ultrasound distance measurement, I send a trigger by RF, and the beacon send ultrasound sound,
Yeah.
And I establish distance depending on the time of receiving. But RF are instantaneous, and the sound will arrive at 300 meters per second.
You can buy the little springy antennas for these too, but I just piece of wire just works. So that's the LoRa node. It's going to read the temperature and hopefully show the temperature over here. And nothing. What?
Library.
Is that power?
No,
There it goes.
It's okay.
So these communicate directly to each other. They're not going through a.
They're not going for any network.
Correct. This is strict. The LoRa device is on an ESP8266, but I'm not using the ESP8266 for anything other than a microcontroller at this point. So basically, when I hit the button, it takes a reading real fast off of the temperature sensor, sends it to wherever that went.
Are you using a library in the ESP?
This is using quite a few libraries to do that, but it's not using any. It's not really taking advantage of the 8266.
Network or something. It's
No.
point to point.
It's point to point. So that's the one that I think you were most curious about, and I think pretty much this will work anywhere in the building. It just might take it a couple seconds because it's not a fast.
And there's no handshaking back and forth on this either, right?
In its current state, there is not, but you can actually make it handshake.
Okay.
So I could actually have said, I want to receive an acknowledgement back that you did actually get something.
How are the units identified? MAC address sort of thing, or?
Right now, they're not, but you can make any identification.
It's a number, right?
Yeah, when I did this demo 3-4, maybe a month ago, and I had a bunch of these, and I just had this node was node 1, and that node
Okay.
was node 2, and then it was sending a JSON string to the receiver, and I was just reading the JSON string and saying, yep, node 1 sent me something, node 2 sent me something. I think you might have been here. I was sending that up to either Crouton or Google Sheets, and I had it was all going from here into that, with that being connected to the internet and posting it to Google Sheets.
Okay. I don't remember this, but that doesn't mean I wasn't here.
That doesn't mean I wasn't. But this is the one that I also did the battery tests on with doing nothing other than just coming online and posting something to Google Sheets, and I think I had determined that it had lasted over a month with just this crappy little cheap battery, and that was it was coming on every 10 minutes, just send in a little bit of info and turn it off. Of course, that was with no sensors or anything, so it's probably be a little different when we actually start using sensors and stuff.
What kind of temperature sensor are you using?
It's an SHT30. That's on this particular one. This is the old. They've come out with a new model SHT30 that actually is breakaway.
Okay.
So you can use it on things other than D1 Mini. But I don't really know what you want to do. Do you want to
Run around.
Do you want to call me or Google Hangout me or whatever?
I'd rather just call.
I don't really want to say my phone number on the air. Not everybody needs to know my phone number. I really don't care if you guys have my phone number. It's
Just the website.
All the Chinese guys that are watching your,
web people don't need my phone number.
Where's the transmitter on?
children with you today.
Yeah, my niece. Actually, he's come a lot of times.
Because I screwed up when I built this board. You just got to watch the pins. And you may have to hold the button a couple of seconds so you see it change. So it should be pretty sensitive and should change pretty often.
So what are you gonna do? Blow on it or something to make the temperature go up?
It's actually it actually
If it responds, that's good.
it actually changed a bit, but he could. So the temperature sensor's right there.
Okay.
So if it's really not changing, you could just stick your finger over it or something. It's pretty sensitive though.
Okay.
And all we have to do is watch and see that it changes wherever you are, and I'll put you on speakerphone, and then we can hear what you say.
Instead of a war drive, it's a war walk.
It's a war walk. But I figure you're probably the best one to do this because you know how big of a building you want to deal with.
It's about the size of this. Did you get your phone locked at the moment?
Oh.
I got to leave a message.
Should be okay. What's my phone number? I don't call myself. What?
I can hear some.
Public wireless number is not available.
Oh, that's just weird.
You're connected to the router probably. Seriously. Sometimes it does that at McDonald's. These are, for public wireless particularly, if you connect to the router, sometimes you can't get a phone call.
So, library router.
I'll turn off.
Public wireless, yeah.
I'll turn off the Wi-Fi. I mean, it's not that big a deal. If that doesn't work, I don't know what we're going to do. I guess you could call somebody else.
Unless you gave them a trick number.
I was using WhatsApp in Spain or talking, no problem.
We've got.
Like a phone call.
I've got Duo installed on this. I think I've got Hangouts.
There it is. Okay.
Is this you?
Yes.
Okay, what you see a sign that say IKEA.
All right.
I can hear it.
So we'll get a feedback loop started.
Yep.
So you're gonna see how far you can go.
I'm going to set this over here because people don't really need to see his phone number either. Okay. Did you hit the button? Cause I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention.
That just changed.
Did it change?
The upper number changed a lot.
Okay. Somebody actually, yep, it changed. I saw it.
I'm headed through the farthest corner here. I'd say this is probably 85 or 90 feet.
So with that 83,
Yep. Yep. We gotta change.
82 and 44. It
So
changed.
is a little blue light on this the transmit indicator?
No, it's something else. I got another change. I honestly don't know why the blue light's on that one. It shouldn't be. But
It only comes on just before you say it changed.
it changed.
Should it just changed?
It did.
Okay, well, that's a snack machine. I figure if it works behind a Coke machine, it's good.
Yep. I changed. He's hiding stuff behind the Coke machine. It changed again.
Okay. Most of the way there. Should it just changed?
Do it again.
Going through the door.
I see it changing. Yep, it changed.
Yep.
Should it just changed?
Yep.
I'm in the hallway right now behind the soda machines.
Yep.
Changed.
Gotta change. Got a big change.
Did it change?
Yep.
Yep.
You hear me now?
It changed again.
Each only thing constant is change.
Tell us back when you get the idea.
Changed again.
Yeah,
Changed again.
it's changing.
If someone would look above, they would say these guys are easily amused.
We're easily amused.
We're looking at some.
I think I'm not so sure that the Wi-Fi mesh will work at distance, but I think all these other ones will.
Unless you have another one, like another.
One in a repeat, doing a repeating kind
Changed
of
again,
thing.
Steve.
See, he's back.
Oh,
I would say there's 8 or 9 changes in there, wouldn't you?
Oh,
More than that.
there was more than that. Yeah, it changed. I think every time you hit the button, it changed. So there might have been one that it missed.
If you hold the button down and release, that light comes on every time.
Oh, you know why? Because that button is connected to that LED. It's on the same pin number.
Okay,
It-
it only comes on for just a moment.
It's like a
not
pin
while you're
13
holding
deal.
the button down, it's on. If
Yeah.
you hold it,
Yeah,
through-
that's why. It's the. That's
sorry.
How wire?
For whatever reason, when they made these, they wired the button to the same pin that the LED. I remember that now that he said that. So that worked.
so that was Laura.
That was Laura.
And you said that's not designed for inside the building, but it still works.
Laura is designed for miles worth of distance.
Not feet.
So
Very low bandwidth.
it's depend on how you configure it, because you can configure it for slightly higher bandwidth, but you're losing your distance. So you could actually make this better inside the building than
What we just saw.
outside. This is just a standard config. I didn't tell it to do anything other than be Laura. You could make it better. I didn't really think that it would not work in the building. It's just I don't think it's really. That's not really.
What it was made for.
when he hit the button, he's sending it, and it's going outside the building and down the road and around the block. And
So how many miles typically does it run? 5 miles?
well, with my first test, I was getting like six miles, and I was
When you were driving on the highway there?
yeah, and I wasn't. I gave it every chance to fail. So I mean,
You were on
it's
curved ground and everything.
yeah.
On a moving antenna.
I don't think that. Okay, so one of the drawbacks to LoRa in this particular configuration, I actually had to buy the PCB. I had to buy the LoRa boards. I had to buy the antenna adapter. It's all separate. I had to mesh it all together, and it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap. And if you're,
$20 each?
it was about $20 maybe. And if you're doing a bunch of them for a bunch of different rooms, I mean, you know, that cost adds up pretty fast. Versus something like, you know, the D1, just the D1 Mini and a battery connector and a sensor board. You know, at that point you're talking $10 a piece, and all you have to do is solder the headers onto them and throw it in there. Basically having to order all the parts separately like that. I mean, you were waiting for suppliers from here and China from there, and now there are some other options, but they're not entirely cheap either. Like they do actually make a LoRa board that plugs onto the Uno. It's $15. They make Adafruit makes already pre-made boards. You just have to solder the headers to them. But then you've got to connect wires because it's not this particular format. It's a different pin format. I forget what those were. I think they were $12 a piece or something like that. So there are some other options for that. There's also the LoRa boards that have the ESP32s built into them. So the ESP32 and the LoRa are already on one board, and then all you have to do is add the sensor. And then I think those are between 15 and 20 a piece.
TT Go or whatever.
TT Go boards. A lot of the TT Go boards. Some of those are branded Wemos, but they're not really Wemos boards. That would actually, if you were doing this, that would probably be the way that I would do it. Is buy the board that's already got the processor and because I think I recommended that to you as well. It's already got the LoRa and the processor, and then all you have to do is add your sensors. And these sensors are $3 a piece. I mean, so you're not adding really any more expense to it. Some expense, but not. It's not expensive. So that's my thought on that.
And the power is not a problem in those power usually. Okay, you don't know what you use.
Well,
Battery powered would be
no
very
distance.
handy. Battery powered would be really handy.
You can put anywhere.
this battery board, I think they're 99 cents a piece now. And I found some of these batteries from China for, I want to say they were $1.25 a piece or something like that. You know, so it's all reasonably priced. And if you were going with the D1 Mini format, I'd definitely get the triple base deal because you want to keep that away from things that are generating the heat.
Yeah. How much heat can that thing possibly generate?
When it's just turned on and off like that, probably not much, but you want to get good readings. So.
That heat comes out of the battery. You say the battery lasts a month?
Yeah.
The frequency of your that data.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is using LoRa in Chile in an open sky mine for the workers to know with the GPS to know in a system where each miner is every time. There are thousands of people working in an open sky mine, and each one has a GPS and LoRa transmitter.
How does GPS work in a mine?
Where, you know, where all the workers are at a time, you know.
Boy,
It's an open air mine, so this is like strip mining?
I don't know, it's not mining that it work like open for copper,
open pit mine?
open sky, you know, it's no.
Oh,
it's
okay.
not a tunnel.
That's that's how GPS
Very,
works.
very big holes. They open a hole working because LoRa doesn't work in caves.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Shaft mine is not gonna work very well.
This one here, this is the Wi-Fi mesh.
Okay.
I don't think, especially at a great distance, because it's working basically like Wi-Fi. I don't think it's going to really work, but we could try it.
Okay. How many of those can mesh together?
Theoretically, 256. So
And as long as each is in range with the next one.
they'll all talk to each other. This actually works pretty well.
But it's gonna suck a lot of power.
Yeah, cause the mesh can't really go to sleep. Like it can, and when you've only got two of them, they can't really go to sleep. But if you've got multiples, you could have them go to sleep, and the mesh won't be affected. But basically, at a distance, you've got to keep them awake because
you need to stay awake
yeah.
to help to transmit any message in the message. Here,
Yeah, so I think that this would probably work really well, like if there was one in the center and one out here and one over here, and then they could all just kind of relay back to this. This is the receiver. So if I hit the button, in theory, if I hit the button, it's broken. That's what I was wondering. Where'd the power go? It's all right. I make plans. I have contingencies for stuff. I did charge these batteries last night. At least I thought I charged them last night. Like I said, I don't think this is going to work with just a single. I don't think it's going to get any distance. And again, it doesn't look like it's working at all.
Really doesn't get any distance.
Okay, well, let's skip that. 'Cause I don't know why that's not working. Charged all these batteries up last night though, so. There, finally.
motion sensitive?
I think so, unless my cable's bad. That would really suck if my cable's bad. Hmm. It is possible. Okay, that USB cord may be bad. Or it could just be extremely.
It's right in the line of sight.
I can see it from.
Ran some colored lights by.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to. So, if you want to try it, yeah, that'll work. If you want to try it, we'll try it. I don't know. Hold the button down on that one. See if it. I'm not seeing anything.
This stuff's just loose.
I don't know. I mean, I know it works, but it worked. It worked.
Okay.
I know it works, but it seems to be very picky.
Yeah, that I can see from here. I'll walk straight out.
Is it doing anything?
No, right now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Uh-oh, something happened.
I see him walking.
Is it changing? Yep.
Something happened.
He's way out there. He tripped over chairs. That's.
When he tripped over, that's when he said, yep.
Do you see him? I can't
Yeah, I
see him.
see him.
On that back wall.
It's along the back wall.
Did he do anything when he was along the back wall?
It's changing now. He's zigzagging.
Yeah. I'm trying to hold it so he can see it and you guys can see it. I can't see it. I don't know what it's doing.
Got a line of sight. And I tripped over it.
I saw that. So you got clear back to the back wall.
Yeah.
So
So that's not bad.
that's not bad.
And these mesh, so as long as I had one every 35, 40 feet, it should be good.
And they're cheap and easy to put together. I mean, you could set the whole thing, sensor board, D1 mini, thingamabob, even the battery thing, probably $15 a piece or less. So cheap.
And what sort of battery life?
Well,
Same battery as this one.
I didn't test them with the sensor, and I got about a month off of them. So we add the sensor to it. That's going to make things a little different. But I'd figure a couple weeks anyway.
This is a message every
10 minutes. every 10 minutes. I went into deep sleep,
Yeah.
told to go,
Yeah, because during the transmission there is a lot.
yeah,
But if it's in deep sleep, then it won't be able to relay.
right. So that's the drawback that I can see to the mesh. It's because it pretty much has to stay. I mean, if you lose one, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But if you start dropping meshes, dropping them all over the place, that's probably where the downfall of that.
So that would work better as a plug-in.
I would think so, and
Yeah.
therefore I didn't bring the plug-in for it, but so that would take 7 to 24 volt DC outlet, and yeah, I mean these are, I think these are actually cheaper than the stupid battery things, but of course, you know, you don't need the LED. We're just using the LEDs as a visual indicator that things are actually doing what we think they're doing. Anybody else want to see the mesh? It's an ESP8266 with the thing. I would almost assume that we're going to get about the same range off of the NRF24 because these are 2.4 gigahertz as well.
Okay.
These work a little bit different. These are FSK. They're not a wireless, not a Wi-Fi. They're
What frequency?
Narrow.
2.4 gigahertz.
Yes, a single band.
It's a single deal. You can tell it to. The advantage to this is I can have them communicate with just one or all. It's not really a mesh, but it could be set up pretty easy as a mesh.
Okay.
I can encrypt the transmission on these a little bit easier. There's some advantages and some disadvantages to using these. The biggest problem I've had with these is they're really, really picky about power. And I've found these little carrier boards for them, and that really seemed to like fix the issue. But that's the biggest issue that I've had with these NRF 24s.
What does NRF stand for?
Nordic radio frequency. Nordic made.
Okay.
It's the brand. 24 would probably mean 2.4 gigahertz. Don't know what there's more to the model number, but I don't know what it would mean. We can try them if you'd like. I mean, I have a feeling that they would work very, very similar to
Same frequency.
same
right?
frequency. There's some advantages and some disadvantages to it.
The battery life should be about the same.
Probably not. Okay, so that's where the real that's really where a big advantage would come, right? You can get the NRF boards for like 99 cents. You can get the carrier boards for like 99 cents. The nanos are what, $2. So that's where the biggest advantage comes in.
Is it bidirectional communication?
Yes. Yeah, actually, this one will. The sketch that's running it right now, every 6 or 7 transmissions, it will ask for an ACK back from. Of course, you can change. I mean, that's all in the sketch, so you could change it to every transmission you want an ACK or whatever. That's not part of the actual protocol that it uses. But.
So this is also just on-off. It's not the physical hardware. You have to do the demodulation in software.
No.
You don't have access to the low level.
No, there's
a library or something.
Yeah, there's a library for it. you can make your own schemes up on top of it, but it's got its own modulation scheme. It's an FSK, which is frequency modulated
Frequency
shift keying. Yeah. Versus the ASK, which is amplitude modulated. So this, think of an AM radio or an FM radio. And
But this one has doesn't have a processor. It's hardware.
yeah,
It's analog hardware. The other one has a
There's-
stack or something.
there's a little processor on it. Yeah, show that.
It's a
Tim.
chip that manage all the packages and the
Yeah,
protocol, low level protocol is inside the chip.
I can send anything that I want on top of it, but it does its own thing. It's its own thing.
A layer far from the hardware.
And these are $1?
Yeah. Maybe a buck and a quarter. They're cheap.
What did you say about the power?
It's really, really, really picky about power. It wants a nice clean 3-volt,
3.3 volt.
3.3 volt, and it's that carrier board's got a regulator on it, so it's plugged into the 5-volt.
Power hungry?
Yeah, they're power hungry. It probably would not. It would probably be another one of those that you'd want to plug in.
Is the board hungry or the regulator?
I would say both.
There's neither.
Bend this way.
The Nano, you've probably done more testing on the power of the Nano.
You can work through that very low power.
Yeah. So it's the NRF board is power hungry. I tried it with just a 3-volt processor. Just strict because it wants 3 volts and it wants a nice clean 3 volts. But no, I could not get it to work. I had to plug into the 5-volt rail on that, and I think it's because of the regulator on there. But I even tried it without the stupid carrier board on the 3-volt board, and I could not get the damn thing to work. So
So cheap but very picky.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and once you get it working, just leave it the hell alone.
Don't touch it.
I think Mike learned that, right? Weren't you messing with some of those NRF 24s at one time?
Don't think so.
Somebody was, and I think it was
I'm messing with them for a while.
once you get it working, don't mess with it.
They have a little bit better range.
They're not bad boards. They're really not. They've got a couple of different power settings in the library, so you can go low power, high power, medium power, high power, and that would change your distance a bit. But
What's the communications protocol? I2C or?
no, it's SPI. It's close. It's much more SPI-ish than anything else. Hence
So
all the
3 or 4 pins.
hence all the stinking wires coming off that thing. If you'd like to try it, we can.
Sure. I can trip over another cable.
One of these, because you're going to have to carry a battery pack around with you. Oh, come on.
It's USB.
Yeah.
It may be hours.
65% chance of being upside down.
Isn't power off by itself? Or I don't know.
Yeah,
That light just went off.
that is a problem.
It just went off. That light just went off.
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem because until it actually transmits, it's under really low power.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have to watch the battery because it might turn itself off.
Need to reset the power because it turns off.
So if I hit,
On the battery?
yeah, there's a little button on the battery.
Okay.
But if, hey, why is my light on? It shouldn't be, because this went out, that's why. Maybe. What did my, why does stuff want to be picky? All of a sudden, stuff just decides that it doesn't want to work. It's almost like it's getting a signal constantly.
Should that be off now?
It should be off. It should flash.
Well, that TXT or T
It's it's constantly
is
receiving.
pulsing.
That could be a problem. It shouldn't be. This isn't sending. And the power just went out again. Let's try something different. Let's try something different. This may have broke. It may have broke in the meantime. Yeah. We'll
Want to
try.
change the cable?
No, I only have a couple of those cables. Let's try this one. Oh, yeah. Something broke on that, I think. It probably happened when I was carrying it in the box of everything. See, that one looks like it's receiving stuff all the time too. And it shouldn't be. Oh, look, no power again.
It's flat.
So
Okay.
you just kind of gotta watch the red light and make sure that there's. That should go everywhere, and then there's a button right there to turn it back on. That should go everywhere in this building. It really should.
And this one is a
433 megahertz ASK. It's the probably the cheapest option because you can buy these transmitters for.
Yep, it's flash.
You could buy these transmitters for like 10 of them for like $5.
Yeah, I bought both the transmitters and the receivers.
And have my both. The receiver.
A bag of them for like
No,
yeah for nothing. It's probably the cheapest of all the options. It's also one of the easiest ones to use. I mean, there is a library for it, but there's nothing to it. It just it bit bangs the stupid thing and tells it to do something.
What's their common use?
Mostly these are used like window air conditioners or
Hasn't gone on yet.
Garage doors, maybe.
maybe garage doors.
well,
Switches,
it's
lamp
also
switches.
the
Remote,
frequency
you know,
for
the
your
peel off
parking
and
too.
put in the wall, the switch.
It hasn't flashed once.
A relay inside the lamp.
Well, he may be doing something back.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe the power's not on.
hasn't flashed once.
Did you?
Really?
Is the power on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
There.
flashed in.
Interesting.
There it did. There it did.
We had one of these and we went clear to the other side of the building and it was working.
You have the Google Plus page.
And now it's not.
Not,
I reached,
did two times. There it did. There it did. I'll raise my finger.
Which one?
Yeah, be careful about that. by far, that's probably the cheapest option.
The Nerf is the one we had excellent results
Not-
on. I don't remember that one. That's not a Nerf.
That's the one that you told me
No.
that it needed an antenna, and I stuck a DuPont wire on it, and you said walk to the other end of the
Yeah.
building, and it worked fantastic.
Right when he was right at the door, almost at the doorway.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's weird because it should have way better range than that.
The Nerf had
Right when he
excellent,
almost
excellent
got
range.
2 feet from the door, that's when
You
it
can tell
flashed.
when it's transmitting, at least, the second light comes on.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just kind of weird.
There. Of course, it's right next to it.
Maybe it's because the antenna's bent on the other one.
It shouldn't really have anything to do with it.
That was a joke,
I
by the
reached
way.
500 feet with this thing, man.
500 feet?
See.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it should have some decent range to it.
Decent. The warehouse between the receiver and transmitter.
So this one's cheap,
Cheap,
it's FSK, so it should be.
ASK.
Oh, this, okay.
When you think about it, ASK, it's amplitude modulated, so it's like an AM radio, so you're still gonna get pops and hisses and whatever.
Yeah.
But you're probably gonna get some decent range out of it, because AM radio usually transmits pretty far.
Yeah.
FM, it's usually
Unless you're in
confined.
a metal building.
FM, I know part of that has to do with the power levels, but FM usually has
AM.
30-ish mile range to it or so, but it's a much cleaner signal.
So it's also, if you're talking about broadcast, it's also much higher frequency too.
Right.
So it's gonna be more line of sight.
So,
And the antenna is
but there's some advantages to AM versus.
Yeah.
And these are stupid. You could put just about anything on that data signal, and it's just okay.
That's why WOW bought 94.5 or whatever that FM is, so people downtown in the buildings could hear it on the radio. 'Cause
The
the
last.
AM doesn't work in the metal building.
I don't know if we're actually proving anything or just having fun. The last one I've got, can send that one that way, and I'll send this one this way, and they'll meet somewhere in the middle. Those are old boards. It's called a Montino. I found those boards on eBay. I found 5 of them on eBay for like $5, and I've never used them for anything. So they're 915 megahertz. It's an RF12B chip is on them, which has been long retired, which is probably why I got them very, very cheap. The RFM69 has replaced them. I've never used them for anything, but I thought, what the heck? Why not set something up just because? So basically, that particular board is an Arduino Leonardo with an onboard SPI radio, and the other one I've got, I bought 5 of these on eBay for a little bit of nothing. I got 2 Leonardos, and I got 2 that are basically Arduino Unos, same form factor. The Leonardos have a USB programmer on them, so that's why I like using those. Or that's why I went with that, because the other ones use the FTD.
Will those
programmer.
show up as a HID device?
As
Leonardo
for a Leonardo, yeah, you can program that to do HID stuff.
That could do evil
Stop it.
This is strictly a button, right?
That is strictly a button. But apparently, the guy who actually makes these still sells the Uno version or the Atmega 328 version. But for whatever reason, they had got he didn't like how the Leonardos worked or something, and he just got rid of them. That's the transmitter. Actually, these are transceivers, so they can talk back and forth to each other. I just happen to have it set up as one being a transmitter and one being a receiver.
And these are the 915 megahertz, so
Should be
line of sight,
line of sight.
otherwise relatively short.
It's legal to use them also, right?
915 should be legal in the U.S.
Yeah.
It should be. Should get some decent distance off of it, but it's going to be line of sight. That's kind of what I was kind of curious about this particular one, though, because I know it's not LoRa, and I know it's relatively decent bandwidth as comparison. I kind of was curious to see just what it would do.
Battery.
Yeah, it's kind of the curiosity killed the cat kind of deal. Where's my other? That's the bad one. That's the bad cord. Are we running out of time?
5 minute.
Oh, crap. We're running out of time.
I've been seeing some Arlo-like cameras.
It's all right. We don't have to mess with this one right now.
Yeah.
We gotta continue next week on something, or
We could.
what do you wanna do?
I'll defer to Steve because I don't know if I've given him any information.